Kathy from Bucks, what's going on? Jamie, shalom. Just got the notification. Jonathan, thank you. God bless you too. Kim over in Hanover. Dave, what is going on? Kim, I am sorry to hear that. That's terrible. Loss of your mom. Praying a blessing over Kim right now. For comfort, for strength. And I'm sorry. Thank you, Lisa. Lauren over in Lancaster, good to see you. Hey, Justin, what's going on? This will be honestly, it'll be short tonight. 10 minutes max. Margarita, you're the first on the other platform. Thank you. From Armstrong in the house. And Yala, good to see you, Carol. It was a beautiful day out there today. Wasn't it fantastic? I am thankful. Vicky, it's good to see you. I am thankful for this great weather. That's one good. Debbie, good to see you. Connie from Southern Lancaster, top fan. So, Lauren, thank you. I kind of thought last night's live may have been too raw, so I did ask some of the people that we work with, like, should I take that down? What? The consensus was it was important that everyone knows what's really going on behind the scenes. So when the lies and the hit pieces come out, sorry, it'd be no surprise, but wow, that's thank you for your indulgence. Okay. House and Senate, we are reintroducing the heartbeat bill. You hear a heart, you hear a life. When people declare dead when they flatline, when there's no heartbeat, obviously, logically, scientifically, medically, you hear a heartbeat's a life. It's interesting to listen to the left. For those that don't believe that babies in the womb should be protected, that they even with a heartbeat. Oh, it's not a real heartbeat. What utter ridiculous science denying nonsense here. It's the next generation is going to look back on our generation and be appalled at how barbaric we were. So, in the House, Stephanie Borowitz is reintroducing the heartbeat bill. In the Senate, myself and Senator Judy Ward are we need not be pragmatic as well. Well, the governor's going to veto it. Why waste your time? If we believe what we say, that the baby in the womb is a life and should be protected, obviously, it should not matter what the governor will or won't do. We need to do our part, right? And not stand aside and capitulate. So we need to metaphorically fight the good fight, right? Defend life. And so William Wilberforce, Minister of Parliament, I talk about him often. He is a model, I think, that we should try to emulate. He became a Christian at the teaching of John Newton. And John Newton, of course, you'll know, Penny, good to see him, was a captain of a slave ship and almost died in a storm. And he promised God if he'd be saved through that storm, he'd renounce the slave trade and commit his life to serving the Lord and helping slaves. And he wrote Amazing Grace. And through his testimony and his witness, a young minister of parliament, their version of Congress, William Wilberforce accepted the Lord, became a strong evangelical Christian, and dedicated his life together with Prime Minister William Pitt. They were friends. Anyway, the younger. He dedicated his life as a legislator, as an elected official, I guess we could say in modern terms, as a minister of parliament, that'd be proper term, to ending the slave trade. The pragmatic people in the parliament, hey, you'll never get it done. It's an institution, the prime minister, the king, the wealthy, the money, the donors, businesses are against you, the lobbyists are against you. So he had over 20 years before he had any legislative victory. Every year he ran something to end the slave trade. Every year. Even was called a traitor by his people. He was mocked and villainized. Interesting. It tends to be the people on the right side of history are always maliciously attacked from the establishment. But every year he introduced legislation, it educated the next generation. And so one thing that was a sign that he was winning the cultural influence was that people that agreed with him on ending the slave trade stopped taking sugar in their tea, because in his legislation and education of the people of the United Kingdom, it was stories from Jamaica of slaves dying in these awful, fiery sugar refining pits, dying painful deaths in fire. So one way people could get behind his legislation was to not take sugar and use honey instead. So on our side here, we need to be as relentless as William Wilberforce. It took him 20 some years before he had any victory at all. 47 years in Parliament to achieve victory. So that's an example. You believe in a cause, you stay in it, and he did it peacefully. He did it relentlessly. He drew fire. It cost him a lot. It cost him his health. I mean, he was a mess. He had to have a brace to hold his head up. His neck was all messed up. But so, do we believe that the baby in the womb is really a baby? Scientifically, yes. At conception, it's there's a little light burst. That's life. You can watch the video. It's amazing what we know now. Having abortion laws based off of 1960s science and medical ideas is ridiculous. It's science denying. It's almost the Stone Ages compared to what we know today. And so that's a distinct individual with a distinct DNA that will never exist again. It's not a clump of tissue or flesh. What an utter ridiculous science denying talking point. So the point is we're reintroducing the heartbeat bill, and be prayerful that we get it to the floor. We could get it out of the committees, have to be run through the health committees, both in the House and Senate. The Senate and House version are companion bills. They're matching just like they were last year. Same sponsors, Stephanie Borowitz in the House, Judy Ward, and myself in the Senate. And so you'll start seeing some video clips on it next week, that you'll hear personal testimonies and stories about the value of life. And so thank you. Some legislation was introduced today as well for voting reform. Important stuff. Talk more about that later. There'll be some hearings in the Senate next week. If you want to be heard, I will post how you can fill out a form to see if the Senator Wayne Langerholt will bring you in to testify. So keep an eye on the page next couple of days. We'll post a link. And if you have a story that sounds wrong, if something happened to you, were you eyewitness or were a victim of any shenanigans during a general election, you have a chance to be heard by the Senate committee next week. And I imagine in the future as well, as more and more hearings will be heard, we'll post that there as well. So, yep, Vicky's right. We need to believe that this bill will go through, never give up. That's right. So, for those of you not familiar with this, I think 18 states have introduced some sort of heartbeat bill. The bottom line, if you hear a heartbeat, that baby cannot be killed. And usually that's between 6 and 7 weeks. That's a life. That's science. That's a fact. And so that would be a huge victory. I am pro-life at conception, and we need to work it'd be nice in the 1980s. Here's a final thought here. I used to love watching C-SPAN. Yeah, no, exciting life. It's not so interesting anymore. But there were some good, serious debates on the floor of Congress in the '80s. Chris Smith from New Jersey and Henry Hyde from Illinois. They made a strong case that would have effectively ended abortion in the '80s. But the Democrats, and there was many, many Democrats that supported that, but they asked for the exceptions. Health of the mother, rape and incest. And I get Chris the argument of the pro-lifers. It's all or nothing, and it goes, no, all life is precious and special. If we can't protect all life, then forget it. And it never passed. That although noble, very short-sighted. Because had it passed in the '80s and it would have through the Senate and it would have been signed into law by Ronald Reagan, we would not have 62 million dead babies on our hands today. But because of this short-sighted, all or nothing approach, we could have worked our way to it. And instead, we have even, as the babies are coming out in some states like New York, what do you prefer? And so this would head us in a direction of protecting more lives. About 31,000 precious little ones are killed every year in Pennsylvania by abortion. And so that would reduce the death rate by abortion. I think by my estimate, I'll have to check my notes, but I think when I looked about by 20,000. Is that worth it? Absolutely. When the 10 boons, we call them in the States, 10 bone in Netherlands, the watchmaker family in Haarlem, Netherlands. Not too far from the Anne Frank house, by the way, in Amsterdam. But anyway, they hid and helped smuggle out several dozen Jews. Um, every life mattered. And actually, most of the family lost their lives as a result because they were compromised, and the Nazis swept them up and dropped the sisters Corey and Betsy into Ravensbrück concentration camp. Their dad Casper, he was over 100 years old. He died in the custody of the Gestapo. But anyway, thank you, Paulette. So Paulette says 27,000 abortions in 2019. Thank you for that correction. But every life matters. So this is a step in the right direction, right? You'll see some vignettes. One lady was conceived in rape when her mom was 11. You're going to see that vignette. That's that personal testimony next week. We'll put a clip up. And so all life does matter. But the short-sightedness in the 1980s, opened the door for unbridled abortion. No restrictions in effect. There are restrictions. You know what I'm saying? We wouldn't be where we are today. So sadly, politics is the art of the possible. And you can't get everything you want this year, at least head in a direction, head towards that goalpost. And so I hope everyone understands if we could save a few hundred, a few thousand, in the meantime, as they could have done in the '80s, the world would be better for it. It's heartbreaking. Any baby loses his or her life, and so there's no rationalization there. I'm just saying if we could save some, let's start today. So pray that we can pass the bill. Okay, friends, that's it. Thank you for tuning in. Stay strong, stay blessed, stay encouraged. Many people, many friends of ours on this page have lost loved ones. A father, chief of the fire department, several moms have passed away. So it seemed like a very sad week across the state for many people. So we're lifting up in prayer those who've lost loved ones. So praying that you'll feel the peace of God in these times, and you won't be alone. So, thank you, my friends. I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. And keep the faith.